everyone. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. So, if you're watching on YouTube, if you could please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, or if you're listening on Spotify, you can always follow us there. Every like and share and subscribe can help our channel to be seen by many more Stargate fans. So, we really appreciate it. And then we also have all of our socials listed up on the screen right now if you wish to follow us there. Okay, thank you, and I hope you enjoy. Bye.
We have decided to do a Christmas episode or a Christmas special.
Woohoo!
This is outside of our normal podcasting, but I think we both thought it would be really cool to talk about Christmas and Stargate and also maybe explore some fan theories and also talk about some of the things that maybe we would have liked to see or think are interesting. And at the end, we'll have some fun questions and answers to get us in the holiday mood. But first, I thought like one of the things that was interesting is I think we had talked about making a holiday special a while ago after we had kind of concluded our first season. And I actually looked into it about whether or not, Christmas or holidays or anything was ever mentioned on Stargate or if there was any holiday specials. And there's actually only one mention or display of anything holiday like that having like an Earth holiday tradition, and that is in the final episode on Ending when they're on the ship and they just happen to have some Christmas celebrations. I think they also do some birthday celebrations, but it's the only time that you ever see something like that, and I thought that was interesting. So I went also poking on the internet and looking around at if people had any theories of Christmas and Stargate, and I did find some interesting ones. And the first of which, and I'm curious what you think about this, is the discussion of Santa Claus as a minor Goa'uld. And so in this conversation, maybe we can link to these in the description, but I thought it was interesting that someone suggested, when they're discussing why is there no Christmas specials, and someone said make Santa a minor Goa'uld. They said with Santa's advanced surveillance and all, it makes sense. And then also someone said, yeah, that actually works. Once a year, Santa comes around collecting the gifts left for him, which over the years turned into milk and cookies, which easily could have been food for the Goa'uld armies or slaves, making the Goa'uld war supply. So, I mean, this kind of, and then it says some cultures and people required a softer hand, so Santa, and others a more firm, which is Krampus. And probably not everybody's familiar with Krampus, but I live in Austria, and so that is definitely a thing here. That there's on the other side of Saint Nicolaus, Niccolo, who brings the presents. There's Krampus, who, if you're bad, he takes you away and puts you in a sack and beats you with a stick. So I definitely think both of those entities have some kind of Goa'uld possibilities. But what are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, especially with like the Krampus or however you pronounce it. Like I could imagine that. It's like, but no, that would be really funny. Like, I mean, it's funny because it's my first, like, I know you had sent me this link, but like I had previously said as we were talking before we start recording, I have issues with reading Reddit. Like I I can never follow everything. So that's my first time hearing all of that. So I've been letting that sink in. Um yeah, I mean I think it's a valid theory.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been interesting, and I mean, I guess it could have been maybe a little bit too scary, especially since they were trying to make it a more of a family-oriented show. So maybe they didn't want to touch on something that so many kids would watch and be like, "What?"
Yeah.
I mean, Doctor Who did this. They had kind of Santas that ended up not being so Santa-like, but that was also a little bit of a different, I think, target audience from the beginning. But
Yeah.
if we want to go to the less troublesome, someone also suggested Santa being an ancient. And he said this would be a cool premise, just some old dude banned from ascending because he's obsessed with helping the people his kin abandon and who are enslaved because of a problem they left behind. He tried to bring peace and joy because any more direct interference would get pushback from the ascended. So he sticks to presence and leaning into the myth humans created for him. That one is kind of
Oh,
interesting.
yeah, that one seems much more like it could actually be a thing. Like that seems like it would fit really well. I
Mm-hmm.
like that one. I like that one. So far, that's my favorite.
Well, and it makes sense too because there's so many limits. Like the only thing he can do is give presents. And the ancients, they
Hmm.
always have. I mean, that's the one thing. Like I love the ancients, but they really are like uptight with some of their rules. Like it always bothers me when you have these like I don't know, super. I mean, and I guess there's probably reasons for it and everything. And if we were ascended, we'd probably understand. Um, but there's a situation where there's so much good you could do, and and I guess maybe it's a little thing, just going around and bringing some peace, trying to get people to be in a better space so that they feel like treating each other better. Because if you think about it, that's probably the original thing that like when they set up Santa, they want him to be this jolly guy that goes around give presents and everything. So I mean, that one makes more sense to me than a Goa'uld. I think Krampus fits better for a Goa'uld. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
but yeah, so that's kind of interesting. Um, I mean, there's also this could Santa have been in Asgard, which
I mean, it could be. I mean, it's kind of like, it's like how it's like, when you're first introduced to the Asgard, if I remember correctly, it's like, you have Thor, right? Like,
Mhm.
and initially everyone's vision of Thor is, this big muscly dude with long flowing hair. And then it's like it ends up being, an alien that, and so it's just like I think that'd be really funny to like have Santa Claus be like part of the Asgard. Like and because like they have like a magical nature about them, it's like when you first hear about the Asgard, like they're able to like beam them up and everything, out of nowhere. And that was like a running joke with like Jack O'Neill would be in the middle of talking about something and all of a sudden he'd get beamed away. And so it's like, that's like a magical element, I think, in a sense. Like before, like they knew too much about their technology, it felt like magic, right? So it's like and since the idea of Santa Claus is a very magical thing, I could imagine that like being, maybe like a rogue Asgard where they're just like
Yeah,
not wanting to actually be part of that, kind of like how there was
totally.
that clone or something
Yes, the one
that
that
was
cloned
causing the
Jack.
issues. Yeah, so something like that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. That magic aspect is that's you're absolutely right. That's super true. Plus, I guess in the Asgard, like on their ship, they had that the technology where they could basically create and manufacture things. And so if you think about like the whole idea of
Mm,
creation of toys and distribution, I mean, actually the Asgard would make the ideal Santa because they could
yeah.
make toys and then just beam them everywhere. They don't even
Yeah.
have to, like go down the chimney or anything. Like
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think that's a big issue for many kids with Santa is like if they don't have a chimney, like I don't get it. How does he get here? And makes sense. Asgard.
yeah, obviously. Okay, so there's our answer. How do you get your Christmas gifts? It's because of Asgard beaming. That's we can all agree on that. I wish my kids were young enough to believe that.
That would be amazing.
That's an awesome one. Why didn't we think
I'll
about that?
need to have another kid just solely to be able to do that.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
Right? Yeah. Only for that, just for that purpose. Yeah. So I thought that was kind of some interesting ones. But it's interesting that they didn't do anything that remotely addressed it, and some people had some ideas about that, and I'd actually be curious to know um what you thought about that, because I also have some ideas too. um I mean, obviously the first of which someone said that, postulating that they didn't want to be offensive because usually when they were relating to other things, It was dealing with more ancient cultures that people were further removed from and weren't really engaged with their daily life at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But also someone mentioned that the military, and I think actually there's some quote basically saying like, okay, the military does decorate, but the only time we did anything like a gift exchange was when we were deployed. So maybe they're just trying to keep it really, it's possible they're just trying to keep it very kind of set to
Oh.
kind of keeping it like more that they're avoiding that kind of thing. Also that the time the episodes aired, they weren't really ever airing over Christmas time.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And also there's this aspect where a lot of times at this particular time, like the late 90s, early 2000s, usually Christmas was often touched on in sitcoms and things that were airing. They would always have like usually Thanksgiving episodes and Christmas episodes. But I mean, that's more of a sitcom thing, and maybe it was associated with a certain style. But I always, like, my feelings on it was I had the impression, and I guess this only really applies to whether they touch on it on Earth. So I guess there's more questions of whether why it was never really touched on anywhere else. But I feel like it's probably because I mean, at least for me, when I'm watching the show, I don't get a sense of where they are in the year. And so
Right.
I don't know if maybe they just didn't want to mark time. So that
That's a really good point. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they didn't want people to know, because like in sitcoms I think they did, especially because the idea was you sit down and you watch it like every week. But if they made the
Yeah.
show with any kind of syndication or anything else in mind, that that you're not just there's then you don't mark time, because otherwise oh, this aired at Halloween or this aired at Christmas. And so maybe that's why. I
Yeah.
don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't
And
really
then,
why they didn't do it with ancient other cultures like that were around or people they visited, but yeah, that's my only thing I could think.
yeah, that's a really good point that I didn't even think of. That I think would make a lot of sense actually to why they wouldn't do a holiday special. Because I think, with that final episode when they did show the holidays, like that, it was kind of a brief thing within the episode. That was to show time, right? That was to show the time that was going by.
Mhm.
So in
Exactly,
that, it made
exactly, right?
sense. So I think that that's, possibly the reason. I don't know. Like, I think with me, when I was trying to think of it, I didn't like think of it that deeply. I thought, I guess, like, I was thinking, like, oh, well, maybe like practically, like, they, sometimes didn't know, like, how, like, I think sometimes, if I remember correctly, they thought the show was ending before it was ending. And so maybe they wanted certain, storylines to try and get wrapped up, or um basically that's what I was thinking, as I was just like, well, maybe it had something to do with the storylines, that they wanted to get parts of the story out that they didn't want to waste not doing because they did a holiday episode. um I think it would have been amazing if they did a holiday episode, like,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like, I never watched this show when it was originally out. um I can't remember what year that was when it was originally out, how old I was. I was just a kid. But
Yeah, me neither. I didn't watch
so
it when it first came out.
yeah, so I feel like things have certainly changed throughout the years with what becomes popular, what shows do. Also, I feel like Stargate has never been something that goes with the trends. Like, they make their
Like,
own trends. um,
exactly.
you know. And so even if it was something of that time that was common, I don't think they would do it just because it was common. There would have to be a really good reason to do it. Which I think, speaks volumes for how well written and the show is, and all their reasoning behind everything that has worked really, really well, that maybe it wouldn't have worked well. Even if people did want to see a holiday episode, maybe it wouldn't have done well. I don't know. But yeah, I definitely think what you mentioned, though, there's a high likelihood of that actually being why. um yeah,
Yeah, it'd
that's
be interesting.
interesting.
If any producers or writers are watching, let us know if we're anywhere.
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that would be cool. Yeah. It would be interesting to hear, other people's viewpoints on that to just kind of,
Mhm.
you know, try and figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's only touching on the earth aspect, because then on top of that, there's the aspect of, wasn't really, there were other customs that were addressed, but usually they had to do with ancient cultures and not so much
Hmm.
modern ones. But there wasn't even something close. And actually, like the tradition of like Christmas and where it actually comes from, it's already very, very old. So they didn't really even touch on anything kind of in the neighborhood where, so I thought that's kind of interesting. But I mean, if I really think about it, they didn't really touch on ideas of celebration much, did they? Like, can you remember, were there even any other episodes where there might have been a quote unquote holiday or something like that? Like, because
Not that I can remember. I can't, no. I think the only time I remember there being like somewhat like a birthday thing was when it was Dr. Frasier and Cassie, right? Like it was Cassie's
yes,
birthday.
that's true.
Um, and Sam was at her house to help celebrate her birthday. Um, but yeah, I honestly can't remember at least any other celebrations within SG1. Um, with Atlantis, I wouldn't know because I'm not fully done with Atlantis yet.
Yeah, same. And universe, I
But
also don't know, because I think
yeah.
let's just check in. Only I have to watch the two movies and then continue on with season 5 of Atlantis.
Yeah, I just started in the beginning of season 5 of Atlantis. So let's see, I'll just check the app to see where I'm at. So far I've watched up to season 5, episode 2.
Okay,
Um
cool.
and I still then need to watch Continuum after I've watched episode 3. I'm kind of following a certain order on an app. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, I
um
mean that's about what I would have to do. It's just I didn't watch the Arc of Truth yet, and I know I was
mhm.
supposed to already. But we couldn't, so I'll have to do that, and then I think because I'm right after episode 1 on season 5, and then
Okay.
but they literally just mentioned at the end of season 1 that episode something about ball. So, um, yeah. So then we'll watch the Arc of Truth and then the movie, and then we'll continue on with the season 5. And so I think we're actually at about the same spot.
Yeah, and I think I may actually rewatch the beginning of season 5 because it was kind of a while ago that I watched it, and then I started binge watching other shows, you know, non-related to Stargate, and so I honestly don't even remember what was going on. So I'll probably actually rewatch those first few episodes to kind of remind myself what was going on. But yeah, so I think probably a lot of what we're talking about with this holiday idea has to do with SG1, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess in Atlantis it's totally different because they're not even, I mean, it's weird because in a one sense you would almost think that in Atlantis there would be some kind of more of a presence of that, because people would be trying to like reclaim, like keep on, hold on to some of the earth traditions.
Right,
I
right.
mean, on the one hand, yeah, like, okay, probably they also don't want to mark time, but it's interesting because now that I think about it, I'm like, well, that would actually have been a really good opportunity to do some, in a way, like holiday themed things, especially because it was so international. They could have even done holiday themed things from other places, because
Yeah.
it was such a international mingle. And but yeah, I get it. It's also probably reasons why they didn't, but
But there could have been some good reasons too why they could use that, because that would give a sense of longing for home and
exactly,
you know, that kind of sentimental feel. But I guess it would really have to tie into whatever the full storyline was about. So
exactly,
maybe
exactly.
that's part of it. I mean, I kind of feel like there's probably something in Atlantis that I'm not thinking of that maybe did that, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I I don't know. No, I don't think there was holidays, but I swore like maybe wasn't there something with like Zelenka? I don't know. I said his
Maybe.
name
I mean,
right?
yeah, I kind of also feel, I mean, I know like there were a couple places they visited where they were having like coronation ceremony or something like that, but nothing, I don't think, related to customs or, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anybody that's watching this, tell us in the comments if there was some holiday type things
Yeah, but maybe don't tell us if it's season 5.
Yeah, please don't tell us only if it's like up to like season 5, episode 1, and then after that, no
Yeah,
tell.
yeah. No
Um,
tell.
yeah. Of all the things I read about holiday episodes in Stargate, this is probably my favorite quote because someone said they did have a Christmas special. And this is the quote. They did have the holiday episode, which did have a big white beard. Michello was totally Stargate Santa, delivering Goa'uld fighting gadgets that no one could figure out and would go to waste. Yeah, I think that counts as a Stargate Christmas episode. What a terrible Christmas episode. Santa dies after trying to sacrifice Daniel and brings presents no one can read or use.
That's amazing. That's a really disturbed Santa.
Yeah.
A very
So that,
confused one.
so that would be their attempt at a Christmas episode.
Oh my gosh, that's really funny. I mean,
Yeah.
hey, it kind of makes sense.
I mean, it actually, like, in a way it does. And I mean, that's kind of like he said at the end, thanks for my holiday. Yeah.
Ah, true. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
called Holiday. Like the episode was called Holiday. So it was all about,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
yeah, just a very, and I mean, yeah, in a way, like you could think, well, he does try. I mean, that's his whole thing. He's making inventions to fight the Goa'uld. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, just executing it in the wrong way. But I mean, maybe someone looking at like Santa would feel the same. Oh, he goes and invades people's houses. He gives them toys, but first he breaks their house and eats their food. Eating cookies, taking Daniel's body, same thing, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Just minor like details that might be slightly different. Oh my
There's
goodness. So was there any others that you had found?
the only other thing is someone postulated that Santa was a furling, and
I mean, you never see the furlings, right? So
right,
there is that mystery there, which is the same mystery that's there with Santa. You never see Santa.
yes, true. So maybe it's a
You kind of imagine what Santa would be like and what his world is like. And so you imagine what the furling is and what they are like and what their world is like. So in that sense, very similar.
out of curiosity, when you visualize a furling, what do you imagine?
um Kind of like a big hairy Furby looking thing.
Right, like an Ewok kind of. I mean, it's really.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think this is the same. I imagine Ewoks.
Yeah,
Something.
but maybe not as tall, right? Because Ewoks
Yeah,
are
yeah.
tall.
Well, no, Ewoks are little. They're little.
Oh, are they?
It's like Chewbacca, like he's tall, but like the Ewoks, they're little.
Oh,
They're little.
yes, then yes, exactly that.
Like
Then
those
yeah.
little things from the third one, where they're like those little things. They're kind of, and they do look like Furbies. Actually, they look like, kind of like Furbies.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I
So that's
imagined.
exactly what I think. Yeah.
Maybe they all like look like little Santas, or like maybe they're like maybe Santa's really more like looking like a polar bear, and so then it's like a furling, little
That'd be
tiny
so cute.
polar
Yeah.
bears.
And like maybe like the polar bears are so tiny that they look like snowballs, but then once they start to move, it's a little tiny polar bear. Like, have you ever seen those Instagram like shorts where it will show like a food or something, but somehow they've messed with the image to then show that it's like little puppies all in a row or something? I don't know if you've seen that.
Never seen that.
But
But
it's
you,
like a weird thing where it's like it will show something that looks like something else, and then all of a sudden it kind of starts moving, and then you realize it's like little puppies. I think it's been like altered like to look that way. But yeah.
okay, that's
Yeah.
funny. I've never seen that.
So that's what was in my mind when I mentioned the snowball
Yeah, I
of
mean,
that then becomes a polar
makes
bear
sense.
furling
I've
thing.
heard
I
of,
don't know.
I never heard of, like it's polar bears, right? They're the white ones. Yes, polars, polar bear. I brought
Yeah.
one candy cane. So okay.
So I think also one of the things we were mentioning was like if there was a holiday episode, like what would we like what were our ideas for what that could be. So let's see, maybe should I just say one of mine? I have it written down.
Yes, totally. Totally.
Okay. So I'll just kind of read what I wrote. Okay, so I wrote that it could have been cool to have some sort of running holiday joke similar to Jack never getting to go fishing, but holiday themed. So maybe they would all get together where something would always happen. So it's like maybe they'd always try to get together for the holidays, and then maybe Jack would want like the like pumpkin pie or something, but something would always happen that he would never get that damn slice of pie. And like whether it's just like tailgate the last one, or they go to hand it to him and it falls off the table, and it's always like this like ending thing that would be at the end of an episode, so it wouldn't be like a full holiday episode, but it'd be like an annoying thing that happens, similar to like when Jack could never just go fishing with Sam and things like that.
Oh, that's such a good idea. That's such a funny one that also makes me think like if they ever did an episode and it happened to be during the holidays and it was like Urgo, like one of those like silly spin-offs, and like they have
Yeah.
Urgo, but they all have to go to like their various Christmas parties. Like that would be really funny.
Yeah, and I guess too, what like when I was thinking of this idea, like what it kind of reminded me of is I don't know like if wait, and I kind of cringe even mentioning this show because of who it's linked to, but back in the day, did you ever watch The Cosby Show?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you never watched The Cosby
I've never
Show?
seen it.
Like with Bill Cosby?
Never seen
Okay,
it.
well, in the episode, like they always had this running joke where he just loved sandwiches and would make these massive sandwiches and get so excited to eat his sandwich, and then someone would walk in and stop him from eating and taking that bite. And it always happened in a lot of the episodes that it was like a constant joke within the show, even though it wasn't like a main thing. So that's what I was kind of thinking with this, with a holiday idea. Um, was that. And then I had one other idea, but I don't know if you want to say one of yours first.
Sure. I mean, mine is like less, I wish I would have been a little bit more playful, but I was thinking of like if it were like if they did something where there was some kind of Christmas special or like theme, and I was thinking, well, I would want all of the like it would be off world. So they would go off world and encounter another culture that was somehow exploring this tradition. And
Yeah.
like I was thinking like it would have like somehow whatever they were doing would have to be linked to something like that some entity like a Goa'uld or something was making them do this so that they, I mean, it actually would be really easy to do this with the Ori. Like you could do something well, like as long as they do this and go around and say like do these things, then we have the power to do this thing or whatever. Or like they're doing something and it's like benefiting some Goa'uld. So I was thinking,
Yeah.
once a year they always do this, and then because of that, the Goa'uld comes and gets all these things, and maybe even if like the Goa'uld was like a Santa type and delivering presents in the guise of something else, and they all thought you know he was good because he was bringing presents, but really he was like sneakily doing Goa'uld stuff or something like that. So that kind of,
Yeah.
and I also thought it would be like interesting if the aspect and celebration of it itself was also more historical in nature, like almost like if you took it many years ago. Like, I mean, probably have to find the sweet spot where like, yeah, Saint Nicholas still exists with the bringing of the presents, but it doesn't quite intersect with our modern vision of it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really cool idea. I think that would work really well in the Stargate world. Like that would be perfect. I think that fits in really nicely, like with the show and everything. Yeah, I like that.
I know, but I really like your cute idea of like,
Oh,
I love this. Like this is like going with a theme again, like when we did the favorite episodes and you always pick funny ones. And like, I always was like, oh, I really like this one because it like
yeah.
made you think about this deep philosophical concept. But like really the reason everybody appreciates Stargate, we all know, is because I mean, this is the best part. It's like even in something like that, like this serious episode where like, they would find a way to make like some jokes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, which kind of leads into my second idea, which is still the funny one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought we could have a silly holiday episode where one of them So initially it just starts off like, one of them gets injured or something happens that's unusual from another planetary visit of some sort. And then it causes them to go into like a delusion. So you're basically seeing their delusion, thinking it's like it's probably not actually happening, but kind of similar to when Daniel Jackson like became like that evil genius ruler, like that none of that was real, right? But like that's like what you see in the episode. So my thought was it starts off with like someone like, getting rushed into like the medical like unit or whatever, and like the doctors are trying to help them, and then it goes into their mind of what they're seeing while they're being helped with whatever, random plant injected something into them or something like that. And so that, but basically where I thought it could be funny is the whole episode would be a play on different like famous holiday movies, and so all of the main characters would be playing those characters. So it's like Home Alone, and A Christmas Story, and It's a Wonderful Life, like taking like iconic scenes from those movies and like playing it out. So it's like, two of the characters could be like the robbers that are in Home Alone, while one of the characters are being like Macaulay Culkin's character of In the House. Like, and they kind of play on all like these like stereotypical things that have happened in these like very like well received holiday movies that are some people's faves, like I couldn't
Totally.
think of all the different holiday movies, but I thought it could be really funny.
That would be so cool. I mean, yeah, it could be like a kind of like 200, how they had all this like that would be actually really you could make it
Exactly, yeah.
hilarious, especially because of their relationship with cliches, and all those movies is 100% like filled of cliches. So
Yeah, yeah.
super brilliant. That's a good idea. That would be a good one. That would be fun. That's why we
Did you
love.
have any other ideas with yours, or was that your main one?
That was kind of my main one, like that I
Yeah.
was thinking of like an episode or Christmas special, and I was thinking, well, in general, if I saw them, I would love that it is like kind of more rooted in history, and that there's, I mean, it would be off-world, like this kind of
Yeah.
like situation, and yeah, so that would,
Yeah. No, I think that'd be amazing. Yeah.
yeah.
Let's see. So I know we had put together like kind of silly or not silly, I don't know, questions basically that were kind of like following the theme of like what was it? What did I say? Is it this or that or whatever it's called, or just kind of like silly questions in general, like what we would choose that are kind of holiday Stargate themed. But before we get to that, was there anything else I'm missing before we go to those?
I don't think so, unless we have any other like final thoughts about like the whole concept of Christmas specials. And
Because I think like you had came up with some questions that we both answered, right? But I think we kind of talked through some of those, or
we answered everything.
um,
I mean, I guess like the
yeah.
last, I mean, the only thing I can think is like, I mean, are we in the end happy or sad that like Stargate didn't have any holiday specials? Because I have to say, like, I'm torn about it, because I know, like, I've also, I don't know if you've seen Doctor Who, but they are like openly having like actual Christmas specials. So they have a full season, and they have like
Oh,
an
okay.
actual Christmas special. And usually the Christmas special is also really tied to Christmas, actually. So it's
Ah,
not just like that it airs at the time, but there's usually something Christmassy really within it, whether it's like taking place at Christmas, or the character, like, I mean, a lot of times it takes place at Christmas, and then there's like also Santa and other typical Christmas things. Sometimes it's like now and here, sometimes it's not near now and here, but it's always kind of a theme. But the rest of the season, it's not like that.
mm,
Um, but I think in Stargate, it's like, on the one hand, I mean, I guess where I could see where there could have, now that we've talked about it, I think that I could see the most potential of integrating some of that in Atlantis. That
yeah,
we've kind of brought that
yeah,
up. It's interesting because when I was, like doing a little bit of digging, most people talk about SG1, and I think it's because it was 10 full seasons, and maybe
yeah.
because it took place on Earth. But I think actually Atlantis, I would think about that more because it didn't take place on Earth. And
Yeah.
that I could see there being more of a need for people to want to, like the people that are there in Atlantis, to want to keep something, like even if it was like little offhand things, like, you know, Dr. Beckett talking about some Christmas cookies and that they weren't quite as good as his mom's or something like that would have been like super cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would
Yeah.
probably be
Yeah.
like,
I agree. Like, I think I'm kind of neutral on the idea of SG1 having a holiday, like, special episode. I think, like, sure, it would be cool. But I don't really feel one way or the other, I guess. I was just thinking as you were talking, actually, and probably many would hate this, but I would love it. Is because I feel like there's a certain period of time, I don't know what years like this kind of started, more closer to the time we are now, where a lot of different shows started doing like their weird musical episodes.
oh yeah.
And like I'm just like, how freaking hilarious would that be if like all of them just like broke into song and dance? Like it would be so cringe, but I would love every moment of it because I'm a massive like musical theater person. Like I love musical theater and I would just find that hilarious. Like I'd probably find it incredibly cringy for some of them because I just feel like not everyone in that group of actors would be comfortable doing that. At least how I envision them. You know, it isn't like I know any of them, but I would find that like just amazing because of how amusing I would find it. So it'd be for like a purely selfish reason. And then if you made that like a musical holiday episode, then that's like a
See, I would
bonus.
think that would
Okay.
be hilarious. And I think you could actually make it happen with some kind of virus or alien invasion. Like it would be
Yeah.
really easy to make it that you're under the influence of some kind of like outside technology or something, and there could be a total viable explanation for it, and it would be really funny.
Or maybe
Um,
even Urgo. Maybe even Urgo was
yeah,
just like, I want a musical.
yeah,
I'm
you would have
back.
to, I mean, he made them say row, row, row your boat. So
True. I forgot about that. But anyways, yeah, no, I think that's funny. And I think it would be cool to hear from others watching this, their thoughts on um, you know, how do they feel about like having a holiday episode and things like that? Is that something that they would have really liked to see or not?
or would you have hated it if
But
it ruined the spirit of Stargate? But
would
yeah,
you what?
would it have ruined your impression of Stargate, right? Like,
Right,
yeah,
right.
or are you look a little bit sad? I mean, because it's also a time thing. I think maybe nowadays this kind of thing, it's more common to do those in like more heavier shows. And
Yeah.
I think that's where I could see, like, especially as Atlantis was a little later, maybe in universe they do something. I don't know. So don't spoil it. But yeah, let us know because I'd be really
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, so we came up with just kind of silly questions to end the episode on. So should we kind of just go back and forth like with our
Sure.
questions? I have about I think 4 questions. I don't know how much you have.
I have 5, but really 4 and 5 are very similar. So we can just
Okay.
well, I
Okay.
mean, they're
Did
kind
you
of
want to start then with your first
sure.
question?
I'll start with one. Who would you rather go Christmas caroling with, Thor or Urgo?
Oh, I think Urgo. I think Urgo because like yeah, I just
I
love
have a
Urgo.
I
So
have a
yeah.
high threshold for embarrassing myself, so I would absolutely pick Urgo because I'm sure like he would make me do really ridiculous stuff. Like I feel like Thor would be fun. Like you could do like the whole beaming in, but he might be a little bit too serious about it. Whereas Urgo would
Yeah.
do really dumb stuff like dance and like sing and probably belt out things. And like I would love that. I would be able for like, yes, make me embarrass myself, Urgo.
Exactly. Yes, yes, yes. That's awesome. Okay, so who would make a better snowman? The young clone of Jack or Cassie?
Ooh. I mean, that's tough because like Cassie has some secret powers, but I would probably have to say the young clone of Jack because he has all of like Jack's military mind. Okay, a more precise snowman, young Jack. but potentially but on the other hand, like when Jack was drawing and stuff, like he was not also so precise. He was, remember, he was breaking that one girl out of making the drawing so perfect. So maybe it would be young Jack.
Mm.
That's
Yeah,
what
I agree. I was thinking Jack too, and I was just kind of thinking of it more in like I was thinking of personality wise, like it could go one of two ways with him where like as his clone teenager self, he could just not give a flying crap and just really not want to do it and then just kind of make it kind of lame so it could maybe not be the greatest, or he could be like really into it and like make it like super creative and stuff and you
exactly.
know so and I guess the same could be said for Cassie too. It could be either or, because like if you think of how they've portrayed both of those characters as their teenage self, both of them went through like the stereotypical teenage attitude kind of thing of like, I'm not doing that. Like,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
either both of them would just be like, nope, I'm not doing it, or if they had to, like they could get really into it. Both of them I think have certain different like creative ways of expressing themselves. So but yeah, I would choose Jack.
Totally. Okay, here's one. Out of all the characters from Stargate that you've seen thus far, so all the way until Atlantis season 5, episode 1, who would you want to pick you as a secret Santa?
Oh, the first one that came to mind.
Uh-huh.
So they would want me to be, no, they would pick. So wait, would
Somebody
I be getting
picking
the
you.
gift from them, or I would
You're
be getting a
getting
gift for them?
you're getting the gift from them.
I would choose Beckett
Oh yeah, that's a good one because he's so like
because
caring.
I think he's very caring and he really like wants to know about the person. I think he would really try and like find ways to know about whoever he was getting a gift for to actually get something really cool.
I
Or like
like it.
really sentimental in some way, like how you're mentioning like cookies before. He would probably like find out like, oh, what is like some cookie they made in their family that they haven't had in years, and I'll make that for them, that kind of thing. So I think it'd be really sweet. So yeah, I would choose Beckett. How about you?
I would pick Ronan
Oh my gosh, really?
because he's really like socially aware. Like it seems like not really like you okay, he's not socially aware, but like in the last, like when just watching him in some, like the way he handled Taylor with her baby, like he actually was super sweet.
True.
And then also the way he was dealing with the funeral with Mitchell's dad. He just has this way of being so socially aware, so I feel like he would probably know what to buy you.
That's so smart. Yeah. He's like one that you wouldn't think is socially aware, but he is. You're very right on that. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I wouldn't have thought of that. Okay, so my next question, would you rather have Christmas dinner with Felger and fam or Coombs and fam? And just as a reminder, Felger has the overbearing mom, because I looked this up to remind myself. Felger has the overbearing mom and Coombs has two cats.
Okay, because I was gonna say like I love Felcher and Coombs. I couldn't pick between the two of them. I would have to choose them both. Like I want them both at my table.
Yeah, yeah. But I
Um,
mean, you have to also think what's connected to them too.
in that case, I would pick Coombs because cats are easier to deal with than overbearing mothers.
Yeah. I was torn because initially Felger has always been my favorite out of the two for whatever reason. I don't really know why. Um, and if you think about it, sometimes like the overbearing parent can be overbearing to their kid, but
Mhm.
as a guest they can be like amazing because like they want to make sure like they have everything and they want to be like overly like kind, I guess. And so it could actually go really well, but then it could actually go really poorly as well because it's like if you're in that situation, maybe the mother would be super weird and like
Yeah.
just make it really uncomfortable, or she would be like overly nice and just drive her child crazy, right? So um I don't know. I would actually, if I could choose to just have them all together as
Yeah.
both sides, like that would be like ideal. I would maybe risk it and choose Felger just because I really like him.
Yeah. I mean, I like them. I guess I feel like they really could use some holiday cheer, both of them. So I would really love
Yeah.
to, like, can we just, how about we grab them both and just bring them some cookies, bring them some cheer.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so my next question is also related to the previous one. So who would you want to pick for Secret Santa?
So who would I pick so that I would be giving the gift to?
Yes.
Um, I don't know why I keep going to Atlantis. For some reason, my mind keeps going to the Atlantis cast on this one. I think I would pick Taylor
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
because I think it would be kind of fun to like think of like what gift to like get her and like learn about like her culture and find out what's like important to her and then do something like creative.
That's a really cool idea. I like that. No, I agree. That would be really cool. I picked Beckett
Ah,
because I don't
yeah.
know. Every time I see Beckett, I want to make him happy. I always like, and his like departure was like the most crushing thing because he didn't actually get to do the thing he wanted to do. So like, I just want to give that poor guy everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. Let's see. So my next question is who would win in a snowball fight? Who do you think would win in a snowball fight? Either O'Neill or Mitchell?
Ooh, oh man. Feel like they would both play so dirty, right? Like it would probably start okay, but then they would play so dirty. But I'm gonna have to say probably in the end, O'Neill will win just pure experience, like because he's higher ranking, he's had more experience with Black Ops, and I have a feeling it would be pretty matched until it got so dirty that eventually like O'Neill would win. But on the other hand, like Mitchell trained with those damn it, he trained with those like I can't remember the Jaffa that were like the do you remember the name of them? It was so long ago.
No, I don't. Sorry.
Janai or no, not Janai, that's the other ones. But anyways, he trained with them. And so like I feel like at the same time,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know who you're
I
talking
mean,
about. I just
right?
can't think
So
of
I
the
feel like
name.
at the
Yeah.
same time they maybe it would totally break down. I mean, but I would say overall probably O'Neill, just pure experience.
Yeah, see, I'm torn at this one because I could imagine both of them, like you said, just being really sneaky about it. Initially, I could imagine it going on for quite a long time where like both think they're gonna win, and then someone else like flies out of the corner and gets them or something. And I
Yes,
could imagine that like, going on for quite a while, and then, maybe I feel like it could go either way where one of them think like they're really about to get the other one and then someone else like sneak attacks, does some sort of weird like creative like thing. But yeah, I think for some reason I'm kind of am leaning towards Jack O'Neill. I don't really know why. Like I think like in my mind it's also maybe also by luck. Like just by pure luck that like
yeah,
Mitchell's about to win and then somehow he manages to do something last second.
totally. I could see
So
that too.
yeah. Yeah.
That's a really good question. That's such a tough one. That's a really good question.
So I have one more question, but I think you have at least two more questions, or do you have one more?
I have two more, but it's kind of like they're both related.
Okay.
So I'll start with one and then you can give your question and then I'll end with the first one. Which SG1 member of all of them could you imagine having the most Christmas spirit? And actually, I'll say anyone at the SGC. So it doesn't have to be just SG1. It can be like, you know,
Okay.
Hammond or it could be Felger or
With the
anybody that.
most Christmas spirit, I think I would lean towards Samantha Carter.
Oh, I could see that. I could totally see that. like in a
Yeah.
stealthy way. Like she doesn't really open about it, but then you go to her house and it's like
Yeah.
gorgeous decorated. You're like, oh my God, wow. And she has some kind of like cool, techno like Christmas decorations. And she's like all secretly excited about it. But
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Exactly. How about you?
I said Vala because
Vala. Okay.
Vala is always so excited about partying and all this like kind of other stuff. And she's always like, like, oh, I'm bored. I want to do. And I could totally see that around Christmas, she would just get like, she would be the one that like made the Stargate Christmas party because, at the SGC, because she just wanted to have a big old shebang. So I would,
Yes.
I would guess Vala, like in an open way. But I could see like, yeah, Carter in a more stealthy way, like.
You know what? This is so funny that this question led to these two people because my next question,
Oh,
I
no.
shit you not, literally says, who would throw the best Christmas party, Vala or Carter?
Oh my God.
And you kind of answered that unintentionally, where I think maybe you would answer Vala. But
But you would answer.
but I don't know now. Like, I actually think when I was thinking of this question, I think who I was leaning towards for best party was Vala,
Mm.
solely because kind of similar to what your answer was for, most Christmas spirit, is that like she would probably get really excited about like trying to do like the traditions and stuff and of everything, and like she'd probably be like sneaky about like having probably mistletoe everywhere so she could try and kiss Daniel Jackson and like she'd probably spike the punch and like do all sorts of like crazy I think both of them could have really good Christmas parties. I think Vala's would be more like um sneaky with like lots of alcohol and sneaky things involved that are
Oh,
kind of funny, like not sneaky in a bad way, just kind of funny.
yeah.
And Carter's would be more wholesome and maybe like
Yeah.
involve like board games and like, eggnog or like talking about like favorite holiday memories. And it was like be like a little bit more wholesome compared to Vala's Christmas parties. I think both ultimately would throw really good Christmas parties, but I think Vala's would be kind of like silly, maybe involve karaoke and all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff.
Exactly, exactly. So, but I actually, yeah, you're right. They probably would be both really, really good in their own little way. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so weird that that led to that. That is bizarre.
I know. Oh my gosh.
So my final question is, which member of Atlantis do you think has the most Christmas spirit?
Oh. Again, Beckett.
Yeah, that's what I said too. I thought of Beckett, like because he, like, I could see him being the most sentimental and very sweet, like in a sweet way almost. Like,
Yeah, he's just always got a little twinkle in his eye. Like, he just seems like he'd be really excited. He seems like he'd be really good at like reading like, The Night Before Christmas or whatever that book is
yeah,
called to like kids and get them all excited for like Santa coming and like yeah, he seems like he'd be like really into it. Whereas like if I think of some of the other ones, I feel
hmm,
like maybe their families would be, but they'd kind of be like a little distant.
yeah. Totally, totally. Plus, I mean, who would you want reading you Christmas stories to bed? Of course you would want Beckett. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah. I
know,
mean, you wouldn't want like Ronan.
really, I don't know. I think he would be like so adorable reading you stories before bed too. But like I feel like
I don't
Beckett
know. He'd probably just scare me.
I feel like Beckett also has this really nice, like soothing voice. Like you'd be like, he I don't know, I guess so does Ronan too. So I don't know.
I think you see a gentle side of Ronan that I'm unable to see.
I think he's such a sweetheart.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, I think that does that conclude all of our questions.
That is
I,
everything. So I think
I th-
maybe we should just invite people to share their own answers to our questions and also hit us with any other questions. We'd be happy to answer any kind of
yeah.
really holiday themed questions about Stargate.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what we could do is we could copy and paste our questions that we said in this in the
And
description or something, so that it's easy for people to kind of see and remind themselves of what they were. But yeah, it would be awesome to hear other people's responses, because I think it could be really funny. So I really hope we get at least a few responses. That would be amazing.
yes.
And yeah, I guess like what we should say, like, happy holidays and Merry
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah, we wish you all like awesome holiday season and a good start into the new year. And I guess sometime after the new year, we'll be resuming our episodes proper, like in a proper series.
Season 2.
Until then, we might have some special surprises. So stay tuned and updated.
Yes.